Hey everybody, we're back with the month of March, still talking about great women, women in history. I have just been excited to be the host and just kind of absorb all of these great women that we've talked to. But today, we went all the way down the street. I mean, all the way down the street over to Parkside, and we got the principal from Depriest Elementary. And so we're so excited to have her here. We're going to get right into it and talk about some things about women history, what makes women history, what makes, a great woman and all of those things. But first, I'm going to let her just stop and introduce herself again to those that may not know her.
Thank you so much. I am Niambi Riggins-Thomas. I am the newly appointed principal, the new contract principal of Depriest.
I think after 90 days, you can't say
I can't say new anymore.
Because you passed 90 days, right?
Yeah, I
Oh,
started
yeah, you're not
December
newly anymore.
18th, but we take 2 weeks away from them because remember,
yeah, you're
I
right.
was there a week and then we went
you're
on
right.
break.
You're right. Okay, you can still say newly.
So I am down the street at the elementary school, and I'm so excited to be here. I was telling the gentleman behind the camera, I was like, whenever Principal Anderson invites me, I'm gonna have to come. So I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so we really are excited to have you here because I think that we don't do enough of celebrating people, celebrating each other, and what we do for each month is we try to do something, right? And so this month, Mr. Turner and I came up with, let's just start bringing women in and talk about women's history and like what inspired them and all of those things. And like I said, at first I was like, well, we should have a woman do it, right? But then I was like, but I've been so intrigued with this and I've been like loving it. I've been like, I want my mama to be here too, the phenomenal woman that she is. So it's been really, really great. So let's just jump right into it. And let's start first talking about you being a history maker. Like, did you ever think that, like, growing up, you would be like, I'm going to be a history maker?
I did not. And I don't know right now that I consider myself a history maker, but I love the way it sounds. But I guess just going out and doing work that impacts other people in your community positively has always been my goal.
Yeah.
And so I think in that I feel like I'm making a difference. I know I'm a difference maker, and that makes me really, really happy.
So I think that as you being a history maker, because as you do those things, you leave your history on someone else.
Yeah.
And so, little girls, little boys also, but little girls look and say, wow, if she's doing that, I could do that too.
Yeah.
And so that's why I always keep saying, like, and I do appreciate you saying the other one, but that's why I keep saying like history maker, because like every day that we walk in school, we make some type of history or some type of imprint, fingerprint, or something like that. Now, I know that you've been elementary, high school, now back elementary.
Yes.
So you've had the world of both, right?
Right.
So how do you think that's gotten you ready to just now have your own school and start just creating? Because think about it, one of the things I remember is that when I took over here, but when I also took over at Byler Elementary, I was like, yes, I want the person whose shoulder I'm standing on to still be here, right?
Yes.
But I need to now fix myself so that when I leave, someone is standing on my shoulders.
Yeah. I think one of the things I'm super excited about, so I started mid-year, and just, building and all of those things and supporting the existing structures and building new structures has been amazing. I'm looking forward though. I'm looking at next school year. Off camera, I was talking to you about we're building the schedule for next year, and just being able to really build a schedule around things that support students, support teachers, and support learning. So, giving that additional time, but also exposing students, and especially when we're talking about young Black students,
Absolutely.
to things that they need to be exposed to, right? So, talking about learning opportunities and the possibility of maybe getting some high school credit while they're in seventh and eighth grade, or and that's just a dream, knock on wood. But
Dreams
all
come
of those
true.
dreams come true, right? And you're the man to make it happen. So I would love that for us to be able to partner with you guys on that. But I've been an assistant principal at a contract school. I've been a resident principal. I've been a teacher. And I was laughing with Mr. Turner earlier, just saying one of the things that's different. I was on your podcast before, my hair was straight. One of the things that I recognize about being the actual principal, it's a lot more work than it ever was. And you feel like but you don't know until you get here.
Yeah.
So my hair was straight. I have not straightened my hair for like a couple of months at this point. And the reason is it's from a little bit of exhaustion. So I'm like, I'll start out, I'm like, I'm gonna wash my hair, blow dry it, flat iron it, but then the blow drying and the flat iron just seems too much. And I'm like, I can't do it. And
But
so
so even that, when I think about like black women,
Yes.
there was so many. Well, I shouldn't even say just black women, but there was so many styles you guys could not wear.
Yes.
And if you wore them, you weren't considered professional,
Yep.
or you weren't considered hireable, right?
Yes.
And I love, love, love the fact that people are able to be so creative with their hair
Yes.
now, their clothing.
Yep.
We have some kids here that have dyed their hair different colors, and every time they come in, I'm like, that is so cool because
Yes.
because first of all, it takes courage to do it, right?
Yep, it does.
And the fact that you do it, somebody else then says, I like that. I'm gonna try my hair like that too.
Let me tell you just a quick story. My daughter, when she was really little, they were, and she's in college now, but there was the Miley Cyrus. She loved Miley Cyrus, and I loved that she loved Miley Cyrus. It was very cool. But she went to school, and there were a lot of Caucasian students, and she really wanted to buy this Miley Cyrus wig. And she wanted the Miley Cyrus wig, and she was having conversations with me about how she wished her hair looked like their hair.
Okay.
Now again, I was wearing my hair straight, but I never had a relaxer. So I had to be very purposeful in making
Yeah.
her love her hair. And you can't just tell your child or the children in our schools, love yourself, unless they see you loving yourself. So I went through a long period of not straightening my hair at all. So I bought all the books about how our hair was awesome, and I had
Nice.
to demonstrate that by not straightening my hair. Today, and even back then, my daughter started loving her hair. She was like, because our hair can be curly, it can be straight. Like
Absolutely.
when I'm at Depriest, the love that I get from the children, little boys and little girls, but those little girls, they come up to me and they're like looking at me and they're like, hey, Principal Thomas, you so pretty. I like your hair. But them liking my hair means they can like their hair.
Absolutely.
And so I'm happy about that. And I've done that, very purposefully at times to like support us being able to legislation being passed. And there were times when it wasn't passed and I wore my hair natural, like, okay, they're going to get all this black girl magic today.
Yeah, but once again, though, that's history. That's
It
really
is.
history, and just doing those type of things because, like I said, for so long to be in corporate and to be certain places, you had to look a certain way, be a certain way, and you couldn't be too colorful, and all of those things. So it was a lot. So let's talk about your grandparents. They were your grandma. She was.
Yeah. So I come from a long line of educators. So, you know how like you say, I'm not going to become my parents. You think you're going to do something completely different. I don't know if I said this the last time I was on the podcast, probably not, but really, you have no idea what I thought I was going to be when I grew up.
That was going to be my next question. Like, if you weren't a principal, what would be your question? But let's talk about your great grandmama first.
So my great grandmother, her name.
I always say that we're in a
Right,
school, so the
right,
bell does ring, and it'll ring
right,
again in 4 minutes, right?
Right. My great grandmother is Mary Ann DeLong, and this is a picture of her.
Oh my God, hold it that way so they can see it.
This is Mary Ann DeLong, and she was the very first student at Southern University in Louisiana. So my family is
Nice.
from I was going to say New Orleans. They are they did move to New Orleans, but really we're from Bayagula, Louisiana. So this is my great grandmother, my grandma's mom, and she was the very first student there. My great great grandma, Georgia DeLong, which is her mother, was a teacher.
Oh, nice.
And I even have like an artifact that says a grand concert. This is her and her, teacher voice. She put together this concert that her students were going to perform. And this is all the way December 21st, 1918. My grandmother was a CPS teacher. CPS teacher. Both of my parents were CPS teachers turned school administrators. My mom was a principal. My dad spent most of his administrator career as an assistant principal and then retired as an interim principal. I thought, well, what I wanted to
You
be...
didn't have a choice.
I wanted to be a nun. So I told my mom that I was going to be a nun. No, I'm not even joking. It's crazy. But my mom was like, you're not going to be a nun. And then because I was like a obedient child, I was like, oh, I guess I'm not going to be a nun.
Right.
So I thought I wanted to be a nun because, I had a favorite teacher who was a nun. My mom had transferred me for a couple of years to a private school because we were in an area where the school was there was a lot of negative behaviors. And so she had transferred us. And so I was like, I really love my teachers and I'm going to be a nun. And she was like, no, you're not. And so, but I think education is truly my calling.
So then when did the education bug bite you?
I think it bit me in steps. Bit me in pieces. And so the first thing that really impacted me, it wasn't like, oh, I want to be a teacher. It was me realizing the impact that education has on people's lives. So from the time I was little, my mom would take us and make us donate our toys. And so we always knew that service was important. When I was growing up, we lived a lot of places. We struggled a bit. You know how like now they have, we talk about the free cheese line. When I was a kid, it was actually a free cheese line. And so I remember
most people don't know that it really was.
It was really a free cheese line. We got a whole block of cheese and powdered milk and all that stuff. And
it made good macaroni and cheese.
It did. I love the big block of cheese. And so we would be in the free cheese line. My parents were teachers, but they were always on strike, not getting paid in the summer. All of those things, we struggled.
Yeah.
And so I watched my parents continue to be in education, and they got their advanced degrees. They became school administrators, and our entire lives, for me and my brother, just changed. And so I saw the impact that education had on that for me. And so I wanted to impart that to my students, to other kids. And I think that's kind of what drew me in to education and why it's my calling. Yeah.
So, some people call it like because I serve.
Yeah.
And the last time I talked to someone, I was like, well, when do we stop serving?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's your answer to that? I want to see if you have the same answer.
When
do we stop serving? Like, at what point do we like, okay, I've served enough, Lord?
Right. I believe in the saying, to who much is given, much is required. But
that was 4 minutes.
Yes. and my grandmother used to always have this other saying, the one who was a CPS teacher. She used to always say, I once complained that I had no shoes until I met a man who had no feet. And so even though I say we were in the free cheese line, I always still felt like we had more than enough.
Yeah.
I felt like we were always doing good. And so I always wanted to help other people. So feeling like, like we look back and we like, it was kind of a struggle, but when we were kids,
it didn't feel like a struggle.
It didn't feel like that. It was still great. But I feel like you never really stop serving because I feel like we owe a debt to society, to our community, to other people, because we have breath in our bodies. Like I have people that I went to high school with who don't even get to be here anymore, right? Yeah. I see people who are like children who are struggling, and I think that God has given to me so that I can help the rest of his people. Yeah. And so I don't think we ever stop serving.
I was hoping, this is like my third time asking the same question. When do we stop serving? And everybody's like, oh no, you never stop serving. And I always go, you mean we never? No. So, we retire, and that's what they said. When you retire, you still serve.
Yes. You might stop them. You might change the method in which you serve,
Yeah.
but you never really stop serving. So you might not be teaching a whole, leading a whole school, but the person who lives next door to you just having some kind words to them or
Yeah.
asking them if they need a ride to the store, you're still serving. It just
That's
might
true.
not be all in the same way but also it's in your personality. It's in your person. It's not something that
And your
somebody can
DNA.
make you do, right?
Yeah.
So you're not going to be able to stop being you
Yeah,
until
that's
you
like some days I'm like, I don't want to smile today. I don't want to
yes.
laugh today. I'm just going to go to work and hurry up and make sure it's over. And then I get in the car and I was like, that was so funny. And I can't believe we laughed about blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And, so then you keep, yeah. So
Yes.
what does Women History Month mean to you?
Women's History Month.
Because, there's not a Men's History Month, just so you know.
I know.
I mean, I think I'm going to start this whole petition that we should have one, but go ahead.
You know what I think it's like? It's like the reason we need to have Black History Month.
Uh-huh.
We need to have Black History Month because the contributions of Black people have been edited from the history books.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to reinfuse and tell our children and tell society, Black, white, everyone, what our contributions are. And I think it's similar for Women's History Month. So history is men's history for the most part.
Yeah.
And so the purpose, or I think the need for a Women's History Month is to say, hey, women did these great things. And let little girls know and let men know and let little boys know so that they understand that we are just a people that can do great things. You can do great things because you're a person with breath in your body, not just because they only show you this one, version of what a successful person looks like.
And when you said that, the first thing I thought about was how sometimes we think, I always try to get into the mind of like history makers, right?
Yes.
Because I try to figure out. So I always think like,
Well, you're a history maker.
well,
No,
I
you
don't
really
know
are.
yet on that. We're
You
working
are.
on that. We're
You
gonna
are.
vote on that.
You are.
But I always think about like people like Mae Jameson,
Yes.
Rosa Parks, like when they were doing it, were they like saying, you know what, I'm gonna be the first,
Yeah.
or were they like, I'm doing this because the people deserve this,
Yeah.
and it just so happened I was the first.
Yeah, yeah.
So as we thinking about you
Yeah.
at Depriest, like it's a weird combination of thought process.
It is. And I think what I always think, and I tell my teachers this, I tell my leadership team this, what's best for children is my North Star, right? And so whatever I'm doing, I have to ask myself, is this what's best for children? So what's best for children might not look like what's best for me.
Yeah.
I have to do what's best for children.
Yeah.
What's best for children might not look like what's best for my teacher. I have to do what's best for children. Now, I want to have an environment that is safe and healthy for everybody, and so that is my goal. But when a choice has to be made, I'm always choosing
It's
children.
gotta be children.
But I'm clear on that from day one. I'm clear with myself, and I verbalize that to staff. I verbalize that to my families. I want what's best for my families, but sometimes what's best for children might not be what's best for mine.
Absolutely.
I'm doing what's best for children. And so I think that what I think is not necessarily that I'm making history when I'm doing it, but but I am going to push through whatever adversity I need to push through to make sure that this baby has a great chance at life. Because children aren't little grown-ups. They're still forming.
Yeah.
They're still learning. The way that I look at them, the way that I smile at them or frown at them tells them something about their worth. So I have to be really intentional in what environment I let my children be in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, what they're presented with. Just so,
Because everything has a impact on what they believe or where they go or what they do or how they feel about themselves.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
So, are you guys doing anything for Women History Month over at Depriest?
Yes. So right now, one of the things that we have stopped doing is making morning announcements because we're doing the IAR testing.
right.
We're doing
Yeah.
IAR and DLM testing. And so we don't want to interrupt testing with the announcements. But just like for Black History Month, we had, Black History Facts all throughout. We've been doing Women's History Facts as well.
Nice.
Yes, and so we are doing that, and we're putting something together. We're putting together an exhibit for Women's History Month so that the kids
So
can
are
come out.
we.
Yeah, so the kids will be able to come out and like during as they're walking through the hallways, they'll be able to look at the exhibits and say, "Oh, this is what you know." So yeah, we're doing some cool things.
Yeah, that is so cool. Now, what about how familiar are they? Or let me back up. Here's my real question. Like, I always think about like, man, how do I find those history making parents?
Yeah, yeah,
Because there are some parents that are, and they might even feel like they're history makers
Yep.
because they're like, I just, I'm like, you know how to stretch a dollar.
yes,
And you know how to feed 400 kids with that dollar,
Yep.
And the only other person I knew was Jesus that could take that,
Make
right?
a dollar out of
Right.
15 cents.
Yeah. And so I'm always thinking about how do we find those parents and just be like, you are a history maker.
I love that idea, and I love it because I hadn't thought of that idea. One of the things I think is important is for us to stay connected to our parents in substantive ways. So having parents in the schools, having those conversations with parents, and then you just kind of get to hear the stories and
Yeah.
know. We can also, put out some purposeful information. Send out a survey. But I think what's really important is just throughout the year us having connection to parents in real and substantive ways.
And although we do these months because that's what's on the calendar,
Yes.
I'm always like, no, let's really continue.
Yep.
Continue on. Like, I loved when McDonald's said Black History is 365 days.
Yes.
Because we used to say it's 28 days. Oh, leap year is 29. We got an extra
We
one,
got an
right?
extra day.
But the same thing with Women's History in March. When I think about April, I think about autism, and all the things that we do. We celebrate a month. But then, when that month is gone,
Yep.
we sometimes just be like, well, we'll do that next month.
Yes, I agree because I said the same thing about Black History Month. So we're doing Women's History Month. Depriest services by children of color. So we have Latino and Latina children. We have a majority of African American children. So February was nice, but throughout the year when we're making announcements and we're putting things together, we have to let them see themselves, and so I think that's just super important.
Don't be nice to me only for a month.
No.
Celebrate me all the time.
Yeah, because then I think like what I'm like, nah, you fake.
Yeah.
You
Now,
didn't
Oscar
mean
the
it.
Priest was born March 8th.
Yeah, his birthday was was it this past weekend? Yes, he
Yeah.
just had a birthday, so we have a whole little exhibit for him.
Oh, I was
in
there.
the
I saw
hallway.
it.
Yes.
Well, what was funny is because when I saw like the birthday stuff, I was like, oh my God, they knew it was my birthday. And then when I went in, I was like, oh, it's Oscar the Priest's birthday.
You all share a birthday.
Well, mine's March 11th.
Yes.
And so
Yep.
I was like, oh, it's not for me.
See, we get
I was like, look, I walk in and like they're celebrating all the March birthdays, and it wasn't. It was just his.
We've been having just a celebratory time. So we celebrated the IAR and DLM preparation. We had a couple pep rallies. Had
Oh, I saw
pom-poms.
the shirts.
Oh yes, I got shirts for everybody.
Yeah,
in
I saw the
entire
shirts.
school.
The shirts were nice. They said something like, oh man, what was the big letters in it? Like wow or something?
When you glow.
Yeah, when
let's
you
see.
glow.
Let me see. We had a huge two pep rallies. I'm gonna show you something funny too.
So when you have those pep rallies, invite us. We'll come out. I'll come.
Oh,
I'll
wow.
come dance. My dream job, if teacher didn't work out and being a principal didn't work out, I was going to be a backup dancer for Janet Jackson.
Oh wow.
That's what I wanted to do.
I could completely see you being amazing at that.
Well, I'm gonna still try to shine. Like I'll be behind her doing extra
Look,
stuff and everything.
I'd put the call out. I was like, everybody who can come. I had the staff cheering the
Oh,
children.
wow,
into
you
the
gotta
building
show it
for
to the camera,
IAR.
too.
Oh yes. But so this was us pumping ourselves up, and then we decided to start doing a Soul Train line while we were waiting for the kids to come in.
Nice.
But the kids were so excited, and just to see the smiles on their faces, but I think you have to have that thing where kids, especially children of color, know that they are celebrated and feel celebrated, and come in and see a smile on your face when you see them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they had like a great time.
So now
That was me
This
coming
is
down.
probably putting. This is probably putting you on the spot, and so
Yes.
if you don't have the answer, don't worry about it.
Okay.
But for some reason, this is always important to me, only because of the two schools that I did.
Yes.
Like, what number principal are you for Depriest?
Cool. So I don't know the exact number, but I know one from with the staff that I have,
Mm-hmm.
the ones that have been there longest, have worked under two permanent principals
Mm-hmm.
and then an interim and AIC. So if we count the interim,
Mm-hmm.
then I would be the fourth.
Okay.
So there was a Minnie Watson.
I love Minnie. Have you
Yes,
met her yet?
I've never met her.
Oh
And
my God, you've got to Minnie.
I've
Call
heard
us.
of her.
No, you've
Yes.
got to you've got to meet Minnie Watson.
I've heard great things.
Super. So when I first came over, Network 3 was high school and elementary.
Oh wow.
And so I got a chance to just meet her. To meet Minnie is to know that she's gonna tell. Now, see, I'm doing this, and she knows she does that a lot. But Minnie Watson was a strong, strong woman there. Yeah. I like literally invite her over. I'll come over too.
I would love that because I've heard so much about her.
Minnie is great, and so now we're talking about Minnie again. So, but Minnie is great, and I think you should really reach out to meet her. Because you'll just be like, wow. And Depriest has her number.
I would love it.
Wait, but was that? Oh, and Depriest was the principal there
yes,
too.
It was Minnie, and then Jeverola, and then we had an interim principal, and then we had an AIC.
Right.
Our AIC is a retired principal
Miss
who
Scott.
came to watch the
Oh
school,
my God.
and she's amazing.
Yeah.
Yes, Miss Scott, she's amazing.
And the reason that I brought it up is because let me just say shout out to Miss Scott again because I love that woman. She is. A lot of people called her Silver Fox because she was just there.
I heard that. No,
yeah,
I heard that.
Yeah, we called her Silver Fox.
Love it.
But phenomenal lady. And she's done some AICing, if that's the word, at different schools. But she gets in there and she doesn't want to leave because she's having so much fun again.
Yes.
And I'm always like, you're retired. Don't keep getting in these schools. Want to stay longer.
Like, just come on back.
Yeah, right.
Come on back.
But I would, and I always ask that number because I'm always curious, because numbers have meaning, when you get to those things. And then like for me, when I went to Byler, I was the first black male principal that they've ever had.
Oh, wow.
And so then you always like, wow, that's history, but I got to live up to something there, right?
That is definitely
And
history.
even like when I came here to Michelle Clark, I've always tried to reach out to those principals. Annette Gurley, who has been like phenomenal.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
I've never thought of that, but so I got to, talk a lot to AIC Scott, and I get to talk a lot to Miss Jeverola, Mrs. Jeverola, because she is our deputy chief. So that's an amazing connection. But just the thought of reach out to those who were here in this seat before you, I think is a great
the reason why it's important, because think about it, that when you retire and you leave your school, you kind of some kind of way want to just still be connected to be like, oh, they good. Because otherwise it feels like all this hard work I did and now it's going to, just to even, so like I'm always reaching out to Annette Gurley. Beulah McLeod.
Yes, I know Beulah
So Beulah McLeod was one of the principals here as well. I came after Beulah McLeod. See? I came after Beulah McLeod.
Yes, she's
awesome. And I'm always saying those are strong women that I stood on their shoulders.
Yes.
And
Beulah
so,
is doing wonderful things, and I'm like, yes, I really like her because new leaders.
Yeah, you always know a new leader. Yes. But no, so I'm always looking at ways to like, how do you make sure like they're not forgotten and things like that, because
that's an amazing
they
idea.
put in that work to get like, so for me, if they didn't do what they did, I wouldn't be able to do what I do.
It's true.
So for Rosa Parks, if she didn't do what she did, we would still be possibly sitting, just all these different things. Mae Jameson get on the, astronaut and all of that.
I feel like I have that full circle moment just with my parents. So my parents were both principals, CPS principals. And, and sometimes, like I remember my dad brought me out this folder. He was like, I used to use this. But I'm going to tell you what's interesting about it, which is to me why, sometimes you feel like, or society feels like, oh, they're retired, put them out to pasture. The thing is, the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Absolutely.
We have changed the names of systems and structures, and
a lot of times they're sometimes the same thing.
Sometimes they're the same thing. So that base of knowledge that principals who have come before you have is still an amazing base of knowledge. And
sometimes the connections they have in the community.
Yes.
And knowing the community and things like that. So, I would love, if you get, Miss Scott, Deverola, and Watson there, I'm coming to crash the
I
party.
would love to do that. That's such a great idea. And like we can have coffee.
Yeah.
I don't drink coffee. I drink tea, but I know most people drink coffee.
I don't drink either one. So.
Yeah, I like tea and honey.
And take them around, let them tell you something. Sometimes people
Yes.
just wanted, like, one of the things I found too when I was a counselor is that you go to nursing homes and people just want to tell you how they just want to talk to somebody,
Yes,
you know?
yes.
And so I always look at, like, man, what can they tell me now? Like, what can I glean from them?
The life
That-
experiences are completely relevant, and not only are they relevant, they've gotten to see they were in the moment feeling how you felt, but they've gotten to see how their perspective evolved.
Absolutely.
And we don't have
How
that
something
all
that
the time
started
yet.
as like a thought
Yeah.
went into a dream,
Yeah.
and now you're carrying it on.
You carrying it on.
You know.
Yeah, I think it's funny you said that, because you know how we go to sleep, we have these dreams. I sometimes I have dreams of my ancestors, the people that have come before
Yeah.
me, and they might say give me a little bit of knowledge, or just say, you know what, I'm proud of you, you're doing
Yeah.
good. And I always feel like I'm like, I think I was actually visited tonight.
Yeah, I love the shirt that it says, "Dear Ancestor,
Yes.
I understood the assignment."
I understood. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I bought like 3 of them. I don't know why, because I was like, I guess if one dirty, I can wear the other one.
That is
Maybe I'll
really
wear that
cool.
tomorrow. But
I
it's
love that.
it is. It says, "Dear Ancestors, I understood the assignment," because so many times we don't understand the assignment.
Yes.
Like so many people don't understand like what Dr. Martin Luther King was doing, or what Malcolm X was doing, and so. Because I didn't understand the assignment, I couldn't support them.
Yes.
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 And because I didn't support them, then I didn't know what. So, when you understand the assignment,
Yep.
your heart and your mind and everything gets more into it.
It does. And I think one of the things you made me think of when I taught social science to my students, one of the things that I always tried to do when teaching was to make students feel meaningfully connected to these historical figures, because they're so far off to them.
Yeah.
And they sometimes our children, and sometimes we don't understand the humanity of that person. They're now a name in a book. They did these
It's
things.
like a
Yes.
folklore or a
like-
story tale that we.
Yeah. But just understanding the human part of them. Okay, they did this just like you, and what do you think they were feeling at that time? And I think that's something that we also have to understand, going back to when you're talking about reaching out to people who are still here and have done it,
Absolutely.
understanding, their humanity and their connection and thought process. And I think it makes us feel closer, understanding they are people with thoughts, dreams, and feelings, but they've gotten them seasoned a little bit. They have so much.
I even think about like women voting, like
Yeah.
how the women came and it was like, our vote means something.
Our vote means
but had those women not stood there and said, our vote means something, you're going to hear us, women probably not still be able to vote.
Yeah, and understanding the bravery.
Yeah.
Understand, if I were in this situation right now, it's just like when we talk about, we had a lot of people standing up for our rights recently, and you might see them in the face of, they're standing there and they're being talked to through bullhorns and things of that
Yeah.
nature. And the courage that takes to do that. So understanding that, now how do you think that first Black person felt who said, I'm not getting up? It's not just something that they did for you, but understanding the humanity of that person and what courage that had to take, what they had to lose, and what they did anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, when we think about the history, we are where we are because of our history.
Yep. And we're strong because
And we're
of
strong,
it.
but yeah.
And
the more we realize it, the more we can't be afraid to say more and more.
Yeah, we when you know where you come from and who you come from, it can let you know what you are capable of. You're not just out here floating along alone, and you can go wherever the wind takes you. You have some roots that you're like, you know what? It's been done by people in my family, people who look like me, people I'm connected to before.
And I could do it too.
I could do it too.
You know what? You have been amazing. Like I feel like every time I do a podcast, I should call you. Just so we could sit and talk. And
love
you know, I mean, I know it's a long drive from Parkside to Laramie.
It's a long 4 minutes. A long 4
we
minutes.
might have to send a jet out to get you or
Yes.
something and let you fly in. But
Yep.
I'm so proud of you, and I'm
Thank
so
you.
happy for you.
Thank you.
And as I always say, you know, seriously, I could probably throw a rock to Depriest.
Yeah.
If you need us, let us know. I'm walking over there today to pick up my grandson. I'm back on
it.
my walks as long as the weather's nice.
I love it. And can I say this?
Yep.
It's Women's History Month. But even though it's Women's History Month and we're talking about how, you know, what women do I look up to and all of these things, I just want to say, and I know I've said this before, and I know a lot of times I sound like I'm fangirling.
You know, I had never heard that till I heard you say it. I was like, fangirl.
I'm all fangirling him. But really, a lot of the things, like how I told you, I was having a conversation and I was like, I really would love for my students to attend Michelle Clark because of all of the amazing things that you do here for students. But I look at the things that you do, like, you know, because I like to study greatness. I like to, because I don't know all the things. So I want to study who's been doing it and who's been doing it well. So I'm always so just impressed and excited by the things that you do.
Oh my God.
So for me, I really consider you a history maker, and I consider you somebody who has done this work at a very high level. And so I'm always looking to see what you're doing and see, okay, how can I be like him?
That's probably no. How can I be crazy? Because some days I'm like, how did I just do that? What, you know? But it really does.
Be a little crazy.
But it's one of those things you say. Like I've said to my staff, we're gonna do blah blah blah, and they're like, we're gonna do what? So like the bleachers are almost done, and the bleachers are so high. I'm like, I'm gonna be the first person to run up and down those bleachers before anybody else.
Yes,
And so of course everybody's like, wait, what? And I'm like, no. No, so when you saw the video when the football field was finally finished, I just took off running.
That's what I'm saying.
And you know,
getting the stuff done, that's not just something that happens. That's you pushing and you know, being the squeaky wheel and you having a dream about what can be for your kids, even though some people might think, well, that's a school that, you know, no,
I want the best for every
that.
child, every person that walks in this building.
Me too.
And I think that's what all principals should want.
That's
so.
what I want. That's what I want
You
for
got
my babies. I'm like,
Well, you got my grandchild over there, so
Yes.
he better come out dreaming high.
yes, exactly. Yes.
So thank you so much. I'm really so honored. Oscar Depriest. I told you we got to get one of those little clapper things because then people would think that was a bunch of noise and people are watching us. Because then I'll be like, give it up for Principal Thomas. And then the little clap sound. You don't have one of those? And then people will be like, it was a live taping. And I'll be like, yeah, it really was live. And we can get like the laugh machine too.
Yes.
All right, so this is Principal Anderson signing off. We're really not going to do that. Well, if we do, it's going to be real people laughing.
Yes. Wink.
So this is us signing off. Thank you so much again. I can't wait because next month is Autism Month.
Yes.
And so we both have cluster programs.
Yes.
And
you know, we're unified champions. So.
And I was going to say, and you guys have been amazing at Special Olympics.
Yes, amazing. We have amazing teachers and amazing students, and you know.
So I think what we need to do is get your teachers over here.
I would love it.
So we're gonna set up a day, get your teachers here for April for Autism Month.
Yay!
And let them talk with our teachers, and we'll bring a couple kids too.
I would love it.
All right, there we are. You got it. Look for us in April for Autism Month.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.